This is much bigger than you realize. You all have to get yourselves together. This is everybody's issue.
The city will not be taken over by incorrigibles and deviants.
He's one step ahead of the blacks and homosexuals.
You're never gonna get that minute if you're not willing to fight for it.
Order! We will have order here!
We are not a menace. We will not be silent any longer.
God have mercy on your twisted soul.
If we ever want to be free, we have to stop hiding.
All of you combined are stronger than you know.
It's an illness. It can be treated.
I don't understand. I don't understand!
What are you afraid of, Rama?
I won't run. I'll fight.
We fight until they realize this is our home and we're fighting with our lives!
There's too much left to fight for.
We're an out-of-the-box kind of family.
This is not gonna go away.
You got a loud voice. We could use another loud voice.
No more!
And we'll rise up. I like the waves.
I feel in my heart that it matters not who or how they love.
And we'll do it.
You want to be my daughter. I always was.
Whoever you are not alone.
We will rise.
Thank you.
This project is wonderful. It is
Thank you.
so incredible that it's been made, that it's on ABC, but I think the best part about it, and it shows sort of what we've learned in the entertainment industry, is that we let people from specific communities tell their own stories, which I think this very clearly does.
So important, yeah.
And it's so much better because of it. Nothing feels condescending, nothing feels like it's too chaste or it's scared of telling the stories. It's great. So tell me, what was it like to be a part of that?
It really was a life-changing experience. I went in there, this was my first TV project, so I had no idea what I was getting into. But as soon as I got there, the environment was so warm and so nurturing that it immediately just released any fears I had. And I was able to focus on the work at hand, which was telling Cecilia's story. And, you know, it didn't matter whether someone was gay, straight, bi, trans. On set, we just were working together, and our most important, it was just our vision for the project to be a story of real people from the LGBTQ community. That was what was most important to us. So, yeah, I felt that from the beginning, the immediacy of it and the significance of it, really.
Talk about Cecilia Chung, the real transgender activist that you play.
Yeah, Cecilia, I would call her a firecracker. She's a firecracker because she is just full of spark and energy, and she's just so passionate about what she does. But underneath that fire, there's this huge heart. I got to meet her, I remember it was April 24, 2016, because that was a day before my dad's birthday and 2 days before my sister's and my niece's birthday. So they were significant dates. We went to a Japanese restaurant. I love sushi. And we just had the best evening just sharing stories. And I thought that was it, but then we really took to each other, and we had such affection for each other that the next day she invited me to follow her as she was doing work stuff. And one of those events actually was a forum on HIV and transgender women. So I really saw her in action. I saw that fire in her, but at the same time, all that heart underneath that. And that was so significant because I had just filmed part 3, where you see her pre-transition. And then to see her in action was really informative for me filming the rest of the series, because I was able to take that passion into the rest of the parts, especially when her activism begins and she helps Ken Jones and all that. So up to this day, she's a friend. The other day they had a screening in San Francisco, and it's so funny. I was messaging her. I was messaging her. How do you, messaging? Messaging her on my phone. Actually, it was a text, and then a couple hours later, I saw that she had messaged me through Messenger. So for some reason, we were simultaneously messaging each other. Like I was wishing her well over there. I was saying, I hope you have a great time, and she had messaged me that she wished I was there. So there's this real connection I have had with her, and she's really a mentor at this point for me. And this, all the things she's done for the trans community in particular, it's just so inspiring.
Talk about the audition process for you and getting involved. I know that there's a specific story between you and Dustin Lance Black in terms of how the whole process happened.
Yes, I was freelancing with this amazing boutique agency here in New York, the Carson Colker Agency. They're so wonderful. And I had worked with them before. And I think a few months prior, I actually opened up to them. I said, I am trans, and I am interested in projects that have trans characters that would feature someone three-dimensional, because I wanted to contribute to a positive representation of the community. So they emailed me with this project. As soon as I saw it in my email box, I was like, wow. I connected immediately, and it was one of those things that you just know. You know you're meant to be part of. So I went into the audition a couple days later. They had me prepare 4 scenes. I worked on the scenes. I went into ABC casting with this amazing casting director, Marcy Phillips. She really made me feel at home, and we did the work. I left the room feeling that I did all I could, and I was very calm about it. I just felt, okay, I did everything I could. Let's just go on a bike ride. It was such a nice day. So I did that. I didn't hear for a couple of days, and then I think it was almost a week later, I saw in The Hollywood Reporter that they had cast Guy Pearce and Mary Louise Parker and Rachel Griffiths, and it said they're yet to be cast, Ken Jones and Cecilia Chung. And I said, okay, they haven't yet cast the role of Cecilia, and something in me was like, I want to write a note and let casting know that I am in fact trans.
This part, means more to you than just sort of a regular part. Yeah.
Absolutely, because it tells the history of the LGBTQ civil rights movement, and it was significant. Of course, the people involved in it. But what I did was I reached out to Marcy Phillips and her team, because they were casting such a wide net for the role. They also had it on this site called Actors Access. Because Actors Access had the role on there, I was able to write a note to Marcy, because legally they can't really ask in the room, are you gay? Are you trans? They can't. So I figured, okay.
Which is a good thing.
Which is a good thing, absolutely.
In this particular situation, maybe it wasn't exactly what you wanted.
But it is
but
a
for
good
the most
thing.
part, it's yeah.
Absolutely.
A very good law.
A very, thank goodness. So I wrote that note. I said, thank you for having me. It would be an honor to be part of this important project. I just wanted to make sure you know that I'm trans. The next day, I got a call back, and I said, okay, hopefully, maybe me reaching out had something to do with it, but they wanted me to prepare a 5th scene for the following day. So I did 5 scenes for my callback. A couple days later, I heard from the agency that they were just waiting for network approval. And then a couple days later, I got the call. And I honestly didn't think I would cry or anything, but I did. I teared up, and it just, you sort of imagine doing something like this, but when it happens, it's almost surreal. And yeah, that was my little story. So then I find out later, a few months later on set, I'm in conversation with Dustin Lance Black, and he told me, yeah, when I first saw your audition tape, I was a little upset at casting because I asked them to send me tapes of trans actresses, and I didn't know. So then I put 2 and 2 together, and I figured, oh, maybe it was helpful that I reached out and wrote to Marcy. So yeah, that was how it all came together.
And one of the things that I love about When We Rise is that I think there's been a trend is the wrong word, but an evolution in historical movies about civil rights movements. I think you see it in Selma as well, which is making sure that the stories don't feel like they're over, that maybe this thing happened in history, but there's still a fight going on, and they're referential to the fact that there are all rights have not been granted to the LGBTQ community, just as all civil rights have not been granted to the Black community or the Latino community, and there are still ways to go. What was it like when you were making the show, and how did it feel like you were making sure that that fight still felt like it was going on outside of this historical moment?
So doing the show, it obviously was a different time than now. But there was that sense of significance because this is a story that hasn't been told on network TV. And I was aware that it would reach a broader audience. So is the question like the significance of it?
Yeah, and the fact that the show doesn't feel like it's sort of stuck in the moment, that all rights have been won.
Absolutely. And Lance has said this. He said that he wished the show wasn't as relevant as it is now, but it's an important time. And I think the bottom line is equality for everybody, right? And obviously that isn't the case now, but what the show wishes to share with the audience that it does reach is that whether someone is from the gay community, the trans community, like any community, them seeing the stories of these people in their living rooms hopefully will make them see that whether you're part of this or that or whichever community, we're all just people. And I try to always, when I speak about rights, just say equal rights, because the bottom line is having equal rights for everyone. That's the goal. And we're at a time when that's not quite the case.
And I think it's so important to sort of witness that not so long ago, it really wasn't that long ago, that the rights that the LGBTQ community have now, they didn't have then, as well as how that impacted them. When we think about the right to get married, now federally we have it. But what was it like in 1991 when someone couldn't get married? And we see it in the show. And the show goes after all of those issues in very smart ways, telling these stories.
And when I speak about rights, I just say equal rights for everybody, because that's the bottom line. And hopefully the audience, when they tune into the show, they're able to see that, yes, on the surface, someone may be LGBT or Q, but they're just like us. And how is it that this one group can have this set of rights and this set group cannot have this set of rights? It just doesn't make sense. So hopefully the show is able to contribute to that and reach into the living rooms of people who may not think that they know someone from the LGBTQ community and see that whatever labels there are, these are people that can be my friends. They're just like anyone else. And that they may not know that they already have friends who are part of the community. A few months ago, actually, I was hanging out with a friend of a friend. And we had gotten to hang out a couple of times, and then he had gotten to saying, we started talking about the community, and he said, I hate those people. And that really struck me.
In reference to the
LGBTQ community. And he didn't know that I was part of the trans community.
Oh, obviously.
So I realized I had a choice. I could either just let it slip by or say something. So I felt compelled to tell him. I said, so I shared with him my story. I said, by the way, I am part of the trans community, and that possibly can't be true. You possibly can't hate them because you certainly don't hate me. And that started a conversation. I just wanted to share that because I think it's about people knowing that there is already someone that they know who may be part of the community. So hopefully what the show does is reach into the living rooms of people who may not know that they already know somebody, and then see that stories from the community are very much like their stories. And we're a lot more alike than different, really.
I also think one of the things that this show does is, which is so important, and as time progresses, we can't forget just how devastating the HIV/AIDS epidemic was in the 80s and early 90s, and how little the government did for the gay community, or for anybody with HIV/AIDS, but specifically for the gay community for so long. And we should always hold on to and tell the stories of that time period.
Yes, and I learned so much just from doing the show and watching the show. And the bottom line is, you know, when Lin-Manuel Miranda said, "Love is love is love is love," that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
How is it that you can love this group of people and not love that group of people? It just doesn't make sense, especially in this time, right? So yeah, this is an opportunity. If people tune in to watch the show,
Which they should. It's fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Watch this.
Thank you, guys. But if it is an opportunity for them to see that whatever differences there may be, there's actually a lot in common, and that's that people from the community have desires for intimate connections and just lead meaningful lives. There's a lot more in common that we have.
I should also say, if you are going to tune in to watch it, don't just take her word for it. There is incredible stars in this as well. Michael Kenneth Williams is in it. Guy Pearce is in it. Mary Louise Parker is in it. Rachel Griffiths, as you said. The first episode is directed by Gus Van Sant. Dustin Lance Black wrote them. Whoopi is in it. Rosie O'Donnell. Dee Reese, the phenomenal filmmaker who won at Sundance this past year, directed an episode or two as well. It's an incredible group of people behind this. What was it like working with all of them? Were you just sort of bowled over by all of the talent, the legends that you were around?
Initially, I think there was a moment when I literally pinched my cheek. I think it was the moment when Dustin Lance Black, was on the phone with me. My phone rang. I was expecting this call because his fabulous assistant Miranda said, "Lance wants to welcome you into the family." I pick up and I think it's so funny. I think what I said was, "Is this who I think it is?" I felt like such a fangirl at that point. But then once I got on set and I was so focused on telling the story, we were just on the same team. So I was just really excited to be part of this important project, and it's sort of surreal to see you all here now, speaking with you. It's crazy that my dreams are coming true, and at such a significant time with such a significant project. I mean,
does it feel appropriate that, you know, you said that your dreams are coming true, but your dreams are also coming true after you publicly announced that you were transgender? It seems that like you became completely comfortable with yourself and then all your dreams came true.
Yeah, I'm quite a private person. I like walking my dog Chewy Bear. We like walking in the park, going on bike rides. But it was important for me to be involved in the project and to in a way share my story. So yeah, the project is just so important and significant, and I'm really honored to be part of it.
I think we have some time for questions. Who has a right here?
Hi.
Hi, I love your little bow.
Thanks. I was wondering, since When We Rise is about the LGBT community, how do you think this film is gonna like change the perspectives or the views of the viewers that are gonna see it?
Hopefully they see that there's actually not much difference. When people watch the show and they see that there's this amazing group of people that have fought for equal rights, underneath that, they are people who have families. You know, we're people who love our dogs, who who just want equal rights, period. And yeah, we're a lot more similar than different. I think that's the important thing.
Next question.
Hey, Ivory, thanks so much for being here, and congratulations on getting the role and talking
Thank
about
you.
these important issues. I'm curious, as a trans performer, I know being an actor in general is a very difficult profession from the get-go, but for you, what's been the biggest obstacle that you had to personally overcome while being involved in the entertainment industry?
I recall taking a little break, and it wasn't an intentional break. There came a time when I realized, oh, I'm not as happy as I think I could be, because it seemed that I was happy when I was doing a project. I've done a lot of theater here in New York. I work with this amazing company called the Drilling Company, and we would put on Shakespeare in the parking lot. And that was my joy.
You played Juliet, right?
I played Juliet. That was in Bryant Park Shakespeare a few years later. But yeah, that was my joy. But prior to reaching this place of, I guess I'm just happier in general in my whole life. But prior to that, I noticed that I would be happy when I was doing a project. And then in between, not as happy. So I said, okay, let me take a break. Let me just focus on my happiness in general. And once that happened, and I got back into acting with the Drilling Company and these other projects, and I released any sense of pressure of what success should be or what have you, and I focused on the joy of doing it. Really, simple things just can make you so happy, and I found that performing with a community that I adored really just lit my heart up. And interestingly enough, in the midst of doing that, I then got cast as Juliet in Bryant Park Shakespeare. And then I played Isabella in Measure for Measure, like dream roles that were in front of thousands of people. And it literally was just me following my joy and releasing any sort of pressure to succeed or what have you. And then when this project came along, I still pinch myself, because the people I got to work with on this project are not just amazing artists, but really fabulous human beings. So yeah, it's interesting. I think once I released any sort of notion of succeeding or what have you, and just focused on the joy of doing what I loved, then these things came together. Did that answer your question? Yeah? Yeah? Okay.
Last question right here.
Hi, Ivory.
Hi.
You look gorgeous. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations on the project. It's
Thank you.
amazing and so important for trans visibility and for our entire community.
Yes, thank you.
So my question is, you were mentioning that this project was important to you because you were able to play a trans woman, a trans character.
Who's an amazing woman, Cecilia Chung.
So I'm wondering though, do you feel like in the future, do you ever worry that you're going to get like sort of pigeonholed as just a trans actress, and do you hope to sort of break that barrier and then start to play roles that are non-trans, and what do you think the future for trans actresses are?
You know what, I'm excited for the future. This happens to be my first trans role. Prior to this, I've been acting in New York theater for about 10 years, playing either cis or non-trans roles, really. Because the opportunities weren't there before. And it was important for me to do a project playing a trans character that would have a positive impact on the community. That's why when this role came along, it really was just such a blessing. So I'm just looking forward to what's ahead. Because of my history doing roles that have covered the spectrum, it's something it's not even on my mind. And since we're on the topic, I do want to share that the trans experience is vast. For instance, I completed my transition, and actually that's what began my journey. I had acted as a kid, but when I started transitioning, I didn't feel there were necessarily any roles for me. So I went to music school. I did that because you have all these amazing androgynous figures in music. And then when I completed my transition, my personal journey, because everyone's journey is different, I felt that I could go back into my first love, which was acting. So I bring that up because I think each trans person's journey is different. Some people want to have gender confirmation surgery. Some are happy the way they are, but I think the most important thing is it's brave for anyone to just be authentic to themselves and to honor that. So whether one goes through gender confirmation surgery or not, it doesn't matter. If a person is happy, that's what matters, right? Yeah. I don't know if I answered your question, did I?
I think you did.
Did I?
Yeah. I think it's incredibly important to point out, like you said, that each trans experience is different.
Absolutely.
And the trans experiences are vast.
And I can only speak for my experience.
Exactly, 100%. And I think speaking as a cisgendered straight white guy who's doing this interview with you, who would never call himself an ally, because it's not my job to call myself an ally. I work to that, and it's somebody else's job to say, hey, good job, ally, but it'd be presumptuous of myself to say that. At the same time, it's one of those things that you have to go into every conversation assuming that someone's experience is different.
Absolutely.
So often, I think because of limited representation, it's assumed that each experience is the same and each experience should be talked about the same way, and it's not the case at all.
Absolutely, it's very vast, but each one is beautiful.
100%, I agree with you.
Yes.
When We Rise is airing Monday night at 9 on ABC. It's phenomenal. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Mom, Dad, love you.